back to the smartphone graphic design course. My name is Hamida and I am a designer, an entrepreneur, and an educator. If you are just joining, uh, I would implore you go and check the previous modules of these lessons and catch up with this. We have discussed on the basics of graphic design, the definition, the elements, and like I said in the previous modules, these things are the first things you need to know before diving into designing itself. So, in this lesson, in this module, we'll be looking into principles of design. Principles of design are actually rules that a designer must follow to create an effective and attractive composition or attractive design, like putting everything together. So there are different principles of designs, and when listing them, some people would list five, some will list seven, some will list eight, even up to 12 principles of designs, and there are different categories. So all in all, let's look into a few of them, like alignment, a hierarchy, contrast, color, proportion and emphasis, repetition, proximity, balance, space, and movement. So in all these principles, we don't necessarily have to use all of these principles, but major ones, like we just need to follow these principles. They are rules. If these rules are not followed, our design compositions will just be as whack as you know as quack as anything, like very very poor. So, and we don't want to be a poor designer. We don't want our products to be poor or badly looking. So the first one we'll be looking into is alignment. Alignment helps to create an ordered arrangement and appearance for a better connection. It could be alignment to the left, to the right, to the center, bottom. Okay, in this on this screen, we could see how the texts are being arranged. Looking at the left hand side, we could see that it is straight. So this one is an alignment to the left. So if your design doesn't look good, the first thing you need to check is the alignment. Check the alignment first. Are the elements on the design, are they aligned? Are they, like when you place a ruler on those elements, do they set on a straight line? Are they in line with each other? Are they in the same position? So their position on your design page will make you know if they are aligned accordingly or not. So let's look at an example of a design. This design, I've been using this design since the previous modules. So let us look into this, for example. Now see this design. Admission is open and classes begin on April 5, 2021. That's the text there. And if you can see, if you look into these texts, these elements are actually center aligned. So this is an alignment and it's a perfect alignment. When we start designing, we'll be looking into how we can make our elements perfectly aligned. So there are tools for it and features. So we'll be learning that as we get into designing. So these set of texts are centered, aligned. So Now, looking into the circle yellow, we can see that it's a different kind of alignment, and that is the right alignment. The texts are being aligned to the right. And let's look at the lemon colored line under the red circle. We can see that those texts, those elements, the symbols and the texts, they are perfectly aligned to the left. So this overall arrangement is called alignment. So we need to check for our alignment. Very, very much important. Next, let's look into hierarchy. Hierarchy is when you give a distinct feature to each of your elements according to their order of importance. Like this example that I used here, the first thing that calls your attention is we are open for business. So that is the main thing. That is the main message. Let's go back to when in the previous module when I explained what design theme is. So design theme is given the the highest hierarchy in a design. So this is an example of the design theme. We are open for business. That is the theme of this design, and it is carrying the highest hierarchy, followed by pickup and delivery, and then the address of that company. So in a design, the hierarchy is very important as well. You have to differentiate between which of your elements are important. You use it doesn't necessarily have to come, in ascending order or in descending order. No, that is not what hierarchy is about. Hierarchy is when you give, like, okay, take for example, we are using this size, yeah, the font size as a feature of this element of design. It could be button, it could be shape that you use to, give that message, that theme, distinct feature. So make sure that you give your elements on your design, you give them their due hierarchy. Now, next, we look into contrast. And mostly contrast, when we are talking about contrast, is that we use size, we use color, and proportion. And contrast is when we are talking about opposing, where we are using opposing feature to describe an element or to describe a message in our design. And contrast is used to add emphasis to such an element in our design. Let's say, for example, this design, who else carry pregnancies if not the women? Okay, the overall thing is, if we reason along with that line, we would see that, okay, this is coming in form of a question. However, that question has an answer already. So now there are two things. There is a question and there is an answer. Those two things are in contrast. Question and answer are contrast. So now the question is carrying a different color. The answer is carrying a different color. That is one. That is two. The third point is the question is is having a different size from the answer. So those things, those features are in contrast. it is the question is there is a question and there is an answer. The question has a different size from the answer, and the question has a different color from the answer. So that is what, in short, what contrast does. And these differences give distinct features to the element on this design. So those are the things that we'll look into when we are designing. Next is repetition. Repeating shapes, colors, text, or other elements of design creates a sense of consistency, and by extension, it creates identity. And when you intentionally repeat shapes and colors, they create random rhythm or pattern in a design. For example, let's see how these colors and these shapes are being repeated. The trapezium was repeated, the colors were repeated as well. So this brand this brand has actually created an identity with these colors especially. So when they continue to use these colors or these shapes, it creates a kind of identity for that brand, that whenever they design and they use these colors and they use these shapes, anywhere, even if their logo is not on that design, anywhere people see the design, they would know that, oh, this is this brand, this is this business that has this design. So this is what repetition does, and it is very important when you are creating a brand identity for a business. Proximity is a way of organizing related elements in a design in groups to create or show relationships between them. Okay, so let me use this for example. Let's use another example, another design for example. As we can see that each of these elements on this design has a kind of grouping. Here we have the shapes, the features of this school grouped on one side by the left, then the price and class, they have another grouping, then the dates have another grouping, then there is another group here that says enroll now, which is a message, a call to action. So then admission is on, that is another group. So all these groupings, they are made to, all the elements in these groups, they are made to be, closely related to each other by proximity, and it is for decluttering of the old design, so that there would be space. You cannot just pack every message, every element on the page just like that, and everything will just look scattered, everything will look ugly. Let's look at the previous example too. Admission is open and the class begins. You can see that those texts or those elements were grouped on one side by the left, then the features too were grouped on another side, then the contact information were grouped on another side. So all these things, grouping them closely together, they are talking about, they are signifying what proximity is. So you make information that are closely related to each other, you group them together. Let's talk about balance. Every of your elements has their weights, their respective weights, whether their shapes, colors, texts, talk of anything, the pattern, everything, they have their own weights. So each of those weights should be distributed evenly on your design page according to their weights. Equal weights on, either sides of your design, so that when your readers or your audience see the design, they won't be confused. So, and we have two major kinds of balance. We have the symmetrical balance and the asymmetrical. When we talk about the symmetrical, that's what we are talking about equal weights on either sides of the design page. And when we're talking about the asymmetrical, we're talking about a larger weight on one side, then smaller weights on the other side, not scattering everything, all over the page. No, it doesn't make designs look good. So you arrange them on the page, not scattering. Let's take a look at these two designs, for example. The first one is asymmetrical. We can see the larger square shaped, then the smaller ones by the other side. And the second design, those two trapeziums are equal sizes or equal weights. So, and they are on either sides of the design. So now space. When I was talking about proximity, that when you group related related elements together, you give room for your design to breathe. The eyes are made to get fixed on a particular message at a time. Space doesn't necessarily have to be white. It depends on what you're designing or the brand colors. Talk about colors or what you're designing, the shapes that you're using and all. So, but space is generally there for giving your design that better look. And space can either be white space, or it's also called a negative space. When it is a negative space, it is when it is kind of creating a shape out of that space. So that is what space basically does, and it is very, very important. It makes designs look much beautiful. Next, we have movement, and which is the last that we'll be looking into. Movement is when you're controlling the elements in a way that your reader's eyes are directed to move in a regular pattern from one element to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, till your audience are able to finish the message that you're passing to them. So that regular movement, that regular pattern with which they are able to move their eyes, not moving from top then to bottom, don't get them confused on what you are trying to pass to them. So now take this design, for example. It's a quick design on a book cover. Take Me to Bed. It is arranged in a regular form. The take is not on the top. Well, when me will be at the bottom, and toe will be in the middle. It is not scattered. It is all the letter, the text, they are made to go in that regular um, motion. And bedtime stories for children, that is also, it is very easy for readers to know what message the design is passing across. Then the author's name is at the bottom of the design. So this is what movement does in a design. So there are much more. We can actually combine different, all or major parts of uh, the principles. Like, okay, take this last one for example. We can see alignment. The elements, all elements are center aligned. We can see space. We have space around. Then what else can we see? We see the hierarchy. Take Me to Bed has a very much distinct color from and size from there. So all these things, we are going to put them together to have a very much good looking design. So I would love us to try something out with what we've learned so far after this. Then in the next lesson, we'll be looking into a navigation on the smartphone app that we'll be using. I will be using Canva for it. So if we don't have Canva yet, let's go download it now and start by signing up on the app by using, I actually advise people to sign up with their Google account. This allows you to back up your designs, and you can switch devices. You can even preview your designs, the live preview. You're working on your system and you're viewing it on your mobile phone. So that's one of the features, that's one of the advantages of the Canva software. So you sign up with your Google account and let's get started. See you in the next lesson.